call it fake. Leave your mark like it fades away. Leave a scar that really made your day. I just smile like it can't cut through, like I don't keep count on you. I am a volcano, fire and flood. I am a volcano, boiling blood. I am a volcano, pray I never explode.
Check.
I am a volcano, reap what you sow. You take my calm for hollow ground. Say I'm quiet 'cause I don't get loud. Dig your heels where the fault lines run. Take a gift as a sign you won. Every line you step across, you don't count it as a cost. Every inch you take from me, you disguise your greed as humility. Your kingdom built on a stolen grace. When kingdom comes, it leaves no trace. I am a volcano, fire and flood.
All right. Hit that like, everybody. Annoy the maggot in your life.
Pray I never explode. I am a volcano, reap what you sow.
Here we go. Here we go. Here we go. What's happening, people? Hit the like. What's happening? Look at this chat room. I'm not afraid. I'll dance in public. My theory is dance like everybody's watching. You know what I mean? All right. That's Mega Worldwide for you. All right. I'm not going to let you hear the whole song. No, you got to. I'm going to wait until people buy the album, because that's how I work. You know what I mean? That's the world's longest teaser. That's what I'm doing. Hi, everybody. Welcome. Hit the like, share the show, etc., etc., etc. I think I'm up on Facebook. I should be. Facebook, is it being a dick again? Pitiful. Hold on. We'll check in. What do you... Oh, look at that. 3, 2, 1. Hold on. Are we? Can we? Could we? Possibly? They're just being... Oh. Maybe? Sending data now? All I had to do was shake the... It's like an Etch-a-Sketch. You just have to shake it, start from scratch. Sending data. Come on, Facebook. And pow! And now we're streaming on Facebook. That's good. So we'll wait for those guys to show up. So wait. We're just waiting on the Facebook folks to show up. It's obviously a technical thing, so we don't have to. No, it's okay. You know. If everything running like it's supposed to, and then sometimes it just decides not to send streaming data to one channel or the other. Today it just happens to be Facebook. There's nothing personal about it. I'm not going to take it personally. I'm not going to let it get to me. I'm a professional, and I will rise above it. It just hurts, you know. So I set up all these streams so everybody can just watch from wherever they want. And by God, you know, some gremlin comes along in the internet and starts flicking switches over there on a site that I have no control over. And then, I'm sorry, this isn't about you right now. I feel bad. All right, I'm going to get back on track because we have so much to cover. I think my favorite thing, though, is the Fauci pleading the fifth freak out on the right now. That in and of itself. Okay. I guess the thing they're most upset about with the Fauci fifth issue was, of course, that he didn't fall into their trap to try and get him to get a date wrong or say something out of order when there were so many moving pieces, especially during COVID. And, and again, the shutdowns, the lockdowns, all that stuff has happened under Trump. Remember 14 days to stop the spread that spewed into 14 months, and they called it short. The bigger scandal shouldn't be that they started this thing at it's that they only wanted to do it for like 2 weeks, and they're like, it'll be fine in 2 weeks. That's what cost lives more than anything else, was that they were always looking to kind of like jumpstart stuff. Oh, everybody get back out. It's not that big a deal. We only needed 14 days and all that kind of shit. Yes, and so Trump is in between a rock and a soft turd because Operation Fart Steve,
Captain's log,
obviously would normally be something he could brag about, I guess, as something effective, but maggots don't think so. You could argue that the entire Maha movement and what caused him to have to bring RFK Jr., a.k.a. the not-so-great Gonzo, into his cabinet was because of Operation Fart Steve.
Captain's log.
So, especially now, and again, these are yet another set of trains, a pair of trains on the same track going towards each other that were inevitably going to crash, and that's where we find ourselves. Now, Fauci's, my favorite parts of his diary that have come out lately are, of course, the parts where apparently he was talking to Stephen Miller's wife during her pregnancy and helping calm her down and make sure that, while he had COVID, she didn't catch it because she was 10 weeks pregnant, and he was being really helpful, called her smart and all that stuff, which is freaking MAGA out because it looks like there's moles everywhere. That's their fear. Anything that triggers their paranoia is just gorgeous. And then I think the other stuff where he's just dealing with being noticed or known in a way that he's never been before because he was becoming the poster boy for the pandemic, both on the left as far as somebody to respect and follow his advice, and on the right as somebody who is apparently a deep state operative who was, by the way, well known. I don't know. Is there a rule about the deep state? Maybe you guys can explain this to me. It would seem to me that what is essential to being a member of the deep state is that you are an unknown, faceless bureaucrat with no accountability because you're a third tier somebody deep in the thing, and you pull the levers, but nobody actually knows you're out there. And he was very publicly the person who was helping because NIAID, was about the National Institute for Infectious Disease. It was, everyone was aware. If there was a deep state person there, would be, in theory, a third tier person who was giving him advice and shit like that. Yes, that you trick the person at the top. That's what makes you the deep state. You wouldn't be the guy actually like standing next to the president going, actually, yes, actually, no, you're being stupid. Like that. It just, is there a shallow state? Maybe that's what I'm asking. Is there? There might be right now. I mean, I think that's all the corruption we're seeing in the White House. That's the shallow state. Okay, so of course, the big reaction is, and this is probably the most hilarious for any video from Fox News. Innocent people don't, in all caps, invoke the fifth. Senator Josh Hawley. Now, I know you guys are well up on this, and maybe unlike you, I immediately went to Eric Trump, because going to the multiple times Donald Trump has pled the fifth is almost boring at this point. Eric Trump, in the fraud case, pled the fifth over 450 times. Fucking Eric. Don didn't, because they barely called him in. Which, you know what that means? Not only is Donald Trump a liar and a con man and a fool and blah, 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 But he actually, and this may be because he knew he was doing something sketchy, he put Eric in charge of this shit, which if you're going to do something illegal and you're going to use one of your 3 kids who's in the business, you know, obviously Ivanka, you're not going to get her anywhere near a scandalous thing because you've got to preserve her. You got to put her in an ivory tower of not being too close to the corruption, right? But then there's Don and Eric. If you're willing, the person you're going to put in charge of that is the one you're willing to sacrifice. Because if shit ever hits the fan, they're going to send Eric to jail, not Don or Ivanka, is kind of my point. So it was clear that he didn't expect Eric to be very good at this, but he didn't mind if Eric ended up taking the prison sentence for him. And there's a great example. Donald Trump repeatedly pleads the fifth in fraud deposition video. Shall we take a peek at it right here?
Mr. Trump, I take it you are not going to answer any questions about your preparation today with your counsel. Is that correct?
Should I say this, or should I respond to that?
Just read that.
For all of the reasons provided in my answer, which is incorporated herein, in its entirety, I decline to answer the question. Same answer. 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 Anyone in my position not taking the Fifth Amendment would be a fool, an absolute fool. One statement or answer that is ever so slightly off, just ever so slightly, by accident, by mistake, such as it was a sunny and beautiful day when actually it was slightly overcast, would be met by law enforcement at a level seldom seen in this country.
All right, let's get besides his persecution complex to the just fucking ridiculousness of this. The only reason the weather would be a part of this is if you advise someone to go outside in a suit of armor carrying an umbrella that didn't have a rubber grip into a thunderstorm where you knew it was going to be lightning and you had told them it'll be sunny out, this will be hilarious, and you knew the chances of them being struck by lightning were greater than 50%, right? You know, like, nobody gives a fuck about the weather, you asshat. But this is key to, you know, how he viewed it. And the best part of it being like, anybody who wouldn't take the fifth would be a fool because of the weaponization of the government and the weaponization of law and order against me and whatever. And that brings us back to innocent people don't invoke the fifth. Senator Josh Hawley, who apparently runs better than he reads, which shouldn't be hard, but apparently is.
Moments from today's hearing came from Missouri Senator Josh Hawley. Take a look.
You had time to sit for In Style magazine. Here's what you were doing with your time. You could sit for In Style magazine, but you can't.
In all fairness, In Style comes to your house. It's kind of the thing. They make it pretty easy. I think I did a little thing for In Style years ago, so it's a little bit different than preparing for congressional testimony under oath against an adversarial political body that is weaponizing the government again. As far as the weights and balances of the difficulty of one interview over the other, the In Style one is going to be a fucking skate. I mean, obviously the room raiders are going to be up in your ass, but
the American people. You could sit for In Style magazine, but you're here taking the fifth. You could sit for In Style magazine and get $1 million in cash awards. But now the cat's got your tongue. I bet he does. You may have been a good public servant at one time. I don't know. But I can tell you from reading your emails now, from looking at what you did, how you used your employees, somewhere along the line, it became all about you. You became a narcissist and a
You became a narcissist and a megalomaniac and an evil, self-involved bastard. Have you ever thought of running for president? When Trump steps down, you might be my hero. And you're like, why don't you just go ahead and describe Trump while you're at it?
A liar. And you've lied to the American people, and you've lied to this body. And you've disgraced your profession by doing it. You called yourself the most famous scientist in the world. You've done more to harm science than anybody in my lifetime. And I hope you'll go home and write that in your diary.
Shazam!
All right, here with more, Missouri Senator Josh Hawley. Senator, you asked.
AKA Sneakerbod Crane.
Some really penetrating questions.
This is the running and the fact. Never mind.
Today, I mean, I've got.
Does anybody get that? Does anybody understand this stuff? Sorry if you didn't see the Trump White House course.
Got the whole list here in front of me. What color are you wearing today? And all these other. He wouldn't answer a thing. As you listen to Greg Jarrett's legal analysis, are there options on the table short of states like my state of Florida going after him on the state level?
No. And go ahead.
I think there absolutely are, Sean, and I think the first one is to hold him in contempt of Congress. And I would just say
You can't hold somebody in contempt for pleading the fifth. It's their constitutional right, you dipshit.
this, as a lawyer, former attorney general of my state, when you get immunity, and he's got it. He's got immunity from Joe Biden. I wish he didn't, but he's got it. As much immunity as Hunter Biden has. When you get that, you can't invoke the fifth. And
Yeah, you can, if someone is trying, because he's only pardoned for the stuff up to a certain point. And if they're trying to trick you into a lie, they're trying to make you create. It even goes beyond just self-incrimination for shit you did before. The self-incriminating would be, I will not be baited into committing a crime. Just so you know. Also, and if you're talking about like states coming after you for stuff that might have been imbalanced in how Trump handled things, and you were in charge of one of the particular programs, and the funding went through you, they could blame you, I suppose.
And invoke the fifth because he is guilty as all get out, and he knows it. But
How guilty is all get out? I mean, they got away.
it was wrong what he did today. He did not have the right to do it. I think we should hold him in contempt. And Sean, here's just a little hint to viewers at home. Innocent people don't invoke the fifth. Fauci invoked it 111 times.
Wow, that's 111 times. That's almost 400 times less than Donald Trump in the same amount of time. Now, granted, he probably could have invoked it a lot more, but he insisted on saying the language. Trump really did. He got it down to pardon the phrase, a science by just saying same answer, same answer, same answer. He just invoked the fifth once and then said same answer over and over again because he's, lazy and bored and wanted to irritate people. I don't know, whatever. I don't know quite what he's guilty of. That they don't really articulate that other than him saying he didn't get closed, like schools closed down, but then he talked to Cuomo and he talked to Gavin Newsom about the value of doing it, but he didn't close them down. The governors did or didn't. So if he talked to somebody and they did, and he talked to somebody and they didn't, he's doing the same talking. He's not shutting down schools. That's the reality. What they want to make it look like is that anybody that agreed with him was him committing a crime by shutting down schools and saying that he didn't do it, even though it was the governor's purview to do that, or the health department in the state if they deferred to that. Excuse me, to that. So this is the kind of like nitpicking around it that they were trying to criminalize, trying to weaponize against him. Okay, my conclusion is you're a complete fucking douchebag who apparently doesn't even know whose balls you're sucking in this particular instance.
I've experienced it. The United States Constitution exists for this very purpose, and I will utilize it to the fullest extent and defend myself against this malicious attack by this administration, this Attorney General's office, and all other attacks on my family, my business, and our country. Accordingly, under the advice of my counsel and for all of the above reasons, I respectfully decline to answer the questions under the rights and privileges afforded to every citizen under the United States Constitution. This will be my answer to any further questions.
What was that again? Josh Hawley? Real quick, I just wanted to clear that up. Sorry, again?
Listen, here's just a little hint to viewers at home.
Okay, here's the hint.
Innocent people don't invoke the fifth.
All right, finally, there we go. So it's official. The name of this clip should be Josh Hawley admits Trump commits major fraud. Thinks he should be legally punished because he pled the fifth over 450 times. So clearly he's not innocent. Therefore, by Josh Hawley's own logic, the president is a felon and he should be charged. Well, he was found guilty, but he should probably be jailed then and sentenced based on the findings that he committed fraud multiple times. And they should be able to continue to go after anything he did in his civilian life because of that, because he pled the fifth in a series of other things. So, yes, Josh Hawley willingly and powerfully, very strongly, as Trump likes to say, and with dignity and strength, admits that Donald Trump is a fraud and a felon, based on the facts that he pled the fifth more than 3 times as much as Fauci did in the same circumstance. And that doesn't even get us into the multiple times he's done it before. Anyways, so that I particularly liked. That was a little joy to see. I have to say that I'm a little surprised they didn't tiptoe around it a little more, right? Because they obviously know, or maybe they're just, memories as short as their other organs, and so therefore they don't remember. Maybe someone should, maybe we all need, I'm not on Shitter, I'm sure Josh Hawley is. Perhaps it would be a good idea, anybody on Shitter, send him a link of Trump, taking the fifth over, 500 times. It'd be a thought. Maybe just you could flood his comments with that. Just, or does he? I think it would be better if you could, does his chief of staff tweet as well or whatever? Or sheet, I guess I would call them. We'll figure that out. Anyways, somebody just said memory is a democratic superpower. Yeah, I think so. Okay, so Trump did a few things this morning. They're trying to keep him active and looking like he's, it's Operation Look Busy. While all this shit's going on in Iran and, whether or not they shot down F-35s, which I don't believe. I think they might have shot down maybe an F-14 or whatever. I don't know what's flying around in that area. Might not even be U.S. Might be an Israeli plane, something like that. Or they may just be bullshitting entirely. Doesn't quite matter. But the news is talking about this, and they struck Jordan. They're firing ballistic missiles. There was never a ceasefire, as I said, and clearly right now there was no pause. Everybody was just reloading. So rather than face those things, they've got Trump out. Remember when you got to play in the truck last time and you did the honk honk? Wasn't that fun, Grandpa? Wasn't that a good time? How about you want to do that again? Yeah. Then we'll have pudding. We'll take you out and you can play in the truck, and then we'll give you pudding. So he did this thing, Freedom Haulers, which I got to say, I can't tell if that sounds like a late night infomercial for a moving company or one of the worst Pornhub searches I've ever heard of. But this one, President Trump makes an announcement on Freedom Haulers. Okay. And they play a little bit of Lee Greenwood when he walks out, I think. This is only 20 minutes. Wait. Oh, yeah. Okay, so he's on this other end of they already got, this clip has it past it, which is good. Because they played the whole song, I think, while they were bringing the trucks in, whatever. So this is on, one of the exit areas. You might recall this section of the White House from his poorly attended military parade. Okay.
The President of the United States, Donald J. Trump. And I'm proud
to shit. No, they didn't.
An American.
Motherfucker. So he walks out and they're like, well, just do a little cut. And I think everybody around him is just like, we'll just do a little cut and then we'll fade it out and he'll just start talking.
Ain't no doubt.
Fucking weird.
What a nice song.
What it's so nice, this song. I remember the song.
We thank Lee, right? Lee.
Yeah, Lee, that's his name. What's his last name? Do you remember? You remember Lee's last name?
He has been with us from the
Greenspan, right? Greenwood? Winkledink? Leewood? Lieberwood? Liebenschneigelwood?
beginning, so it's great.
It is great. What is the echo on that mic? You're outside.
And thank you all for being here as we take action to get illegal alien truck drivers off the American roadways. We're doing
I don't know why Sean Duffy felt the need to give a ghost a hand job just then.
a very strong movement, and we have had such support for this, and replace them with proud American veterans. And it's about time.
Sorry, was there something stopping them?
I want to thank Secretary of Transportation Sean.
Oh, by the way, it's always bad when they don't have his, and they're increasingly not doing it, especially at the White House. They're not putting up his teleprompters, so his face is down. And Doc Adam always talks about the spit pooling in the front of his fucking gob because his swallow reflex is funky because his brain isn't working. This gets gnarly.
Fantastic job. Secretary of Veterans Affairs Doug Collins, likewise, really doing a good job. 92% approval. That's not bad, Doug. You'll get it up a little bit. Acting Secretary of Labor Keith Sonderling, and along with President of Werner Enterprises Nathan Meisker. Thank you very much, Nathan, and representatives from the American Trucking Association and the Owner Operators
Of the Great United States.
Independent Drivers Association. They're all behind this 100%. I'm behind it 100%. We got to stop it. It's dangerous. It's horrible what's happening. Every day you see another story. We're not going to
Actually, no, you don't see another story every day.
let that happen. That won't happen
As a matter of fact, I don't think there's been one in quite some time.
with our great vets. But above all, thank you to the amazing veterans with us. I mean, they've just been with us from
The amazing veterans with, I would presume, an organization that's trying to get this done.
amazing veterans with us. I mean, they've just been with us from the day they were born, I suspect. They're great patriots. And
Sorry, how old do you think these people are? What are you talking about? These are 10-year-olds?
we love them. And we want to thank UPS, FedEx, and Werner for the job they've done. Thanks as well to the National Commander of AMVETS, Paul Ship.
Oh, man. Did you hear the word vets right then? That was almost all mucus.
They've done. Thanks as well to the National Commander of AMVETS, Paul
Vets.
Shipley, Chief Operating Officer
Okay, it's rude just to throw the word Shipley even in there with all the... Ugh.
of the Independence Fund, Doug Ackerman, and the great patriots from the Wounded Warrior Project, Vietnam Veterans of America, and Paralyzed Veterans of America. We thank you all, and thank you all for being with us. Very special. Thank you, fellas.
Okay, this is the White House's feed. This is from their YouTube channel. I don't. Maybe there are people there, but why they're not closer, I don't know. This, especially coming from a guy who used to make jokes about the 6 feet of separation during COVID when Biden would give a speech and people were standing in circles, so they were far enough away from each other. Remember that shit? And this is just odd looking. Just saying. I mean, there's a lot of other shit that's wrong with this, but on top of this, it's even worse. There's so many unforced errors in this.
Thank you, everybody. For many years, American highways and roadways have been terrorized by unqualified illegal aliens dangerously driving big rigs like that. You got to know something to drive. Wow, that sucker is a big one.
It's pretty standard for, unless he's talking about the military truck on the other side, which is He's supposed to be making, oh, fuck me. He's supposed to be making a comparison between these two vehicles. The purpose of this is if you drove one of those as a vet, you should be able to drive one of these. You should be allowed to get a commercial driver's license because you can operate that truck. You can learn how to operate this one pretty quickly. And anybody who wants to go from operating giant, trucks in the military should have an easier time if they want to transition to that. They shouldn't have to go through the same, 14-month course that everybody else has to go through. And I don't even know if he knows the truck on the right is a military truck and the truck on his left is a civilian truck. And yeah, I think he's looking to his right. Hold on.
Like that, you got to know something to drive. Wow, that sucker is a big one. That's big stuff. But you have to have a knowledge, you have to have a talent for it, and these people don't have that.
Also, what do you mean talent? Like, it's a skill, you dumbass.
That they're driving big rigs, semi-trucks, and tractor trailers, all because...
Like, seriously, where is the sort of Hollywood-esque rejection from being a truck driver? Kid, you just don't have the feel for it. You know what I mean? You come in here, you've watched a lot of episodes of BJ and the Bear. You've seen the movie Duel probably 3 times. Hell, you might have even watched The Hitcher and thought, one day that could be me. Maybe you dreamed of being Large Marge in the Pee Wee Herman movie, but you just don't have the moxie. But I mean, it's a vehicle. I can learn how to operate. Nah, it's more than that. There's a style. There's just nothing original. Yeah, right. Sure, you may have masturbated to your DVD of Over the Top several times, but you don't have what it takes to get out there on the road with talent like that. Talent, Jesus Christ! It's one of the few words. He uses it in a racist context. That's why he brings it up all the time.
The left maniacs.
The movie Duel gives you a semi. That's adorable.
To the state level, have issued them commercial driver's licenses, even though they're not entitled to have them. They don't speak the language for the most part.
For the most part, you don't speak the language for the most part.
Many of these illegal aliens don't even come close. They don't want to learn the language. They don't care about the language, and
they're just being dicks about it.
They don't speak it. They don't speak English. They cannot read basic road signs. In many cases, they've engaged in reckless driving that has caused many, many preventable deaths. Too many.
Deaths. There's a TH in there somewhere, but who really gives a shit?
Talk about. Last August, 3 innocent people were killed in Florida when an illegal alien from India made an unlawful U-turn, blocking all the lanes of the highway and causing a catastrophic crash. It was a disaster. Just a few weeks ago, a Pennsylvania state trooper was killed by an illegal alien from Haiti driving a semi-truck. He was let in by Joe Biden in the open border.
Okay, real quick. Not illegally here if he's got a license and the ability to do it. He's obviously on like a deferred enforcement, or he was under TPS, so he was legally here and given the right to do a job. Whether he was vetted properly is a question, but the idea that he was an illegal alien during that period of time is not at all the case.
Policy of the Biden administration. By the way, today we have the safest border in the history of our country.
I gotta say, like, all 8 guys clapping at once, and then I guess maybe there's some people across the street. We don't know, but like how it just looks like, we'll just take him out into the parking lot. He'll think people are there. Tell him it's a rally, and we'll clap, and we're close. It'll sound loud.
And I don't even say this usually, but for the last 14 months, because
I don't usually say this. He says it all the time, and it's still not true.
It's almost unbelievable to say, but the media will correct me if I give anything that's even slightly off.
Dude, they don't have time for that shit. The media doesn't have time to chase down every time you're even slightly off. There wouldn't be room for all the times you're categorically off.
The last 14 months, 0 illegal aliens were able to come through our southern border.
That's not true at all. what the phrasing they use is admitted into the country, because they're rejecting everybody that does get through if they find them. And if they don't find them, they were never seen, so you can't prove a negative, so they're counting on that. But the idea that nobody crossed is just dumb. There was a train car full of dead bodies that passed over, and they found all those people that had cooked in that train car. And reasonable people would assume that since they found that one with the dead bodies in it, that train car going back and forth all the time probably had other people in it that didn't die before or after or since. Gibberish. Just so not true.
Last year alone, illegal aliens with commercial driver's licenses caused at least 30 deaths and many, many very seriously injured. As president, I made it our official policy to enforce
God damn, he sounds drunk.
English language requirements for truck drivers and support American truckers on American roadways. We've already removed more than 24,000 non-English speakers from behind the wheel.
Speakers.
We've also forced states to cancel more than 28,000 commercial driver's licenses unlawfully issued to illegal aliens. They were given illegally.
Is that what unlawfully means? No, they were given lawfully. But once you get rid of their TPS status, for example, for somebody who's Haitian, who might have been here under temporary protected status, once you turn that off and you tell them, and they haven't left yet, they're suddenly illegal. And so anything that they have that they don't, if they didn't tear up their driver's license immediately, suddenly that's an illegal driver's license. That's their wiggle room.
As we get illegal aliens off the roads today, we're also taking action to replace these unqualified migrant truck drivers with highly qualified American veterans.
Isn't that about who's being hired by the companies? Sorry, real quick. So the trucking companies, including the guy that's standing next to you who owns one of the big trucking companies, has been hiring these folks, these illegals with their illegal driver's licenses. They don't have to hire them, do they? I mean, you can have a commercial driver's license, but the idea is that you're only using those people in theory because there just aren't enough people available. It's not even about moving undocumented immigrants over. It's about training up that workforce in the first place. And has there anything that's been stopping them up to now? Who was dissuading veterans from, I'm sure there are like vocational training, credits you can get, right?
Under our brand new Freedom Haulers, we call it Freedom Haulers.
Yes, nothing polishes that turd like a golden sign on a golden toothpick that says "not a turd."
Initiative. Any American who has driven a heavy truck for our military.
Imagine if Carol Channing had transitioned.
I was on Broadway for a very long time.
Will automatically be eligible for a commercial driver's license, and it's
automatic eligibility. Tell me more.
Good-paying jobs too. Any veteran with a heavy vehicle experience from the military will now be eligible to skip redundant road tests to obtain a commercial driver's license. We're going to make it as easy as possible for.
Okay, real quick. What defines redundant? Because if the giant vehicle you drove in the military, like a tank, didn't have an air braking system that slowed down the trailer behind you so that it doesn't jackknife, maybe that test might not be a bad idea. Perhaps it depends on what they consider redundant. I guess that's the
veterans within 2 years following their active duty service. And for the veterans where you have a situation where you have not truck drivers in the military, where you have not truck drivers. So it's like spa and not spa. There's truck drivers and not truck drivers. I mean, it must be so nice to have the world be so binary, Sorry, are you a truck driver or are you
not truck driver. I just want to know. It's how I categorize things in my brain. The word is been, and it's in there somewhere between not and have and truck driver.
A situation where you have not truck drivers in the military where you...
Yeah, and I would imagine there's a lot of... I'm going to spitball here, but I'm depending on the amount of, considering the amount of jobs in the military, the amount of not truck drivers out there is quite a big number. I would have a huge percentage. Yeah, the per capita number must be through the roof.
And when you say per capita, there's many per capitas. It's like per capita relative to what?
Sure, yeah. That'd be the population, the general per head, as it were. All right.
Have truck drivers, they're going to be given a very quick pass. We're going to teach them. They're going to learn. If they didn't drive a truck in the military, but they're going to learn, and they're going to learn very quickly.
All right. Jesus. The speed at which they learn to drive a fucking Mack truck is not the issue. Fuck me. Dude, they should learn and practice as long as it takes for them to safely drive it. Just pay for the program. If they didn't drive a truck, we're going to fund, and they want to drive one, and they were in the military, we're going to do this as a transition payment from our military into the private sector. Communism, socialism, anyone? Right, yeah, believe me, those words will get bandied about, and what an asshole.
Licensed in a matter of a few weeks, I think it is.
What do you mean you think it is? I would hope it's within a few weeks of them passing the test.
It's going to take about 3 or 4 weeks of training. 34.
I'm sorry. What are you calling that part of it? The Timothy McVeigh Memorial Driving Course?
4 states have joined this initiative, including Indiana, Wyoming, Louisiana, Arkansas, Alabama, Florida, and Maryland are joining us just today. Many of the representatives and leaders from those states are with us. It's actually a very big deal. This is a big deal.
Really? Is it written there that it's a big deal? Also, so you're saying red states are lining up with their hand out to have the government do vocational job training for the veterans that live in their states?
I believe that all 50 states and Washington, D.C. should join us in supporting these great veterans. And frankly, some of the states didn't know.
He mentioned Puerto Rico because he's afraid that trucks will drive. They probably don't work. You can't drive them out there because of the water.
Know about it. They heard about it today, and I think they're all going to be signing up. Data shows that truck drivers who are veterans account for 42% fewer accidents. Think of that, 42%. And that number, they say, is a very minimal number.
I'm glad they have 42% fewer accidents than who? The average? Hold on real quick. I don't know. Run that back.
I think they're all going to be signing up. Data shows that truck drivers who are veterans account for 42% fewer accidents. Think of that, 42%. And that number, they say, is a very minimal number, even as they drive the double the number of miles of non-veteran drivers. So,
I'm sorry. Okay, so trucker, non-trucker, truck, non-truck. Beg your pardon. Veteran, non-veteran. Again, it's like a pachinko machine. I don't know where this ball is supposed to go, where they all got to land together. Fewer than who? 42% fewer than who? Yeah, hold on. Whoops, play. Oh, that's why I was holding.
To end this, very simply, the radical left wants more jobs for illegal aliens and more migrants and 18-wheelers. And Trump...
Yeah, to end this very simply. The radical left wants to make sure that veterans who want to drive trucks can't, even though fuck off. Even though the Infrastructure Act and the rescue package had all this vocational training stuff in it, and like Democrats have done more to end veterans' homelessness than this guy ever would. Trump takes credit for the VA Choice Act of 2014, lying to veterans and the public that he did this bill that was signed into law before, 3 years before he became president.
Roads and more jobs for the American veteran. Now I'd like to ask a man who's done a fantastic job on this subject and many others, Secretary Duffy, to say a few words, followed by Secretary Collins, Nathan, and a great veteran truck driver, Ricky Washington. And I'll just stand here and watch. Thank you very much. Sean, go ahead.
And fall asleep standing up. All right, so don't care. Clap, blah, 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 and I don't care, blah, 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 and then yeah, don't care. Hold on one second. And I don't think he does anything else. I think he just kind of, like, they do the words, and he says, does he even say goodbye at the end, or they just finish it out? Yeah, here you go. This is it. Tail end. They play YMCA when he leaves?
I want to thank everybody for being here. This is going to be a big day for our wonderful patriots, our great veterans. They're going to produce like nobody else can produce. And thank you very much. And I want to...
Sorry, I thought this was to make them truckers, not producers.
Thank you, and especially all those people you're going to be hiring. But I know a lot of competitors are also doing the same thing. So it's going to be really fantastic. Sean, thank you. Thank you, Doug. Thank you, everybody, for the job you've done very much. Bye. Thank you.
Bye. Bye. Great job you're doing it. Bye. How do I wrap this up? Bye.
Thank you, Doug. Thank you, everybody, for the job you've done very much. Bye. Thank you.
Thank you.
And just fucks right off back into the... Bye. I'm just going... I gotta go spit in a bucket. Oh yeah, there they go. They're playing YMCA. They don't care. Off he goes. Jesus. Sorry. There you go. Play it as he walks out the door.
Let's party like we're moving. Guns and dongs and vested thongs. Whoa, I love that feeling.
It's good. Yeah. It's good. Oh man. Hal, in just 2 trucks, I logged over 1.2 million miles. I missed those trucks. I bet you do, Mike. Bye-bye. Yeah. Good on you, man. That's a lot. That's, yeah. It makes my ass chafe just thinking about it, right? So that was the like almost the full extent of his day. And then I guess he rushed back in to what? Win the war. We'll jump over to CNN and check how the polling is going for these folks with a man who desperately needs to be made into a spitting image doll, Harry Enton.
Are fed up and they want change. That is one of the...
Okay, first of all, please stop. Please. So, okay. This is called regret. And young voters do it all the time. They make a stupid vote the first time, and then they're like, oh shit, this is serious. I didn't even realize. And so they vote the other way. Half the reason the midterms go the way they do is because young voters don't turn out for those kind of things. And when you rock the vote, a lot of times you will find young voters making like roll the dice decisions. And then when their side, which is why we have this ping-ponging of our political system. And then by the time...
Something that Harry Enton has been
a witch
tracking all year, and he is here with us right now.
Hey, I am here.
And excited. Woo! How big is this shift?
Yeah, I mean, we are talking about...
It's big shift. This is a lot of, yeah. This is some bullshit
About
happening.
an absolutely huge shift, a 180. Young voters are fed up, and they're taking their anger out on President Trump. We'll start off there. Take a look here. Voters under the age of 50 on Trump. In the fall
I love that that's what constitutes young voters is under 50.
of 2024, Kamala Harris led in our polling by just 3 points. Look at where Donald Trump is. He was within 3 points of Kamala Harris. Now his net approval rating on the year and the average of CNN polling, look at that, minus 41 points. That is a shift of 38 points away from the President of the United States. He is falling through the floor. If you look at the trend line among voters,
Gee, it's almost as if we're almost 2 years on, and people who are 18 are now approaching 20 or 21, and they're going, "Oh fuck, right? This isn't a joke." And the dude I voted for as a lark actually got in. The audio is out of sync. Oh no.
the age of 50 or 50 and older, the shift that we've seen amongst them against President Trump is less than half that. In fact, it's under a 15-point shift. So the reason why President Trump is so unpopular at this point is
because he's himself.
The shift among younger voters, those under the age of 50, your Gen Z, your millennials, they gave President Trump a little bit of a try in 2024. No longer. He is down there, right there underneath the ocean floor.
How does that translate to when you're looking at Congress?
Yeah, okay. So obviously President Trump is not on the ballot this year. But if you're a Republican in Congress and you think you're going to escape the unpopularity that President Trump has amongst younger voters, you got another thing coming, because just take a look at these shifts. Okay, in the fall of 2024, the choice for House margin, Democrats were leading amongst those under the age of 50 by 4 points. Look at that lead now, though. Look at that lead now. It's more than 4 times that, a double-digit shift. Their lead is now 17 points. Look at those 50 and older. Look at that. Republicans led by 8. They now lead by 6. Basically the same. The reason why Democrats have been able to jump out to this lead in Congress, the reason why that they are likely to take back the U.S. House of Representatives is not older voters. The key game that has shifted here, the key play that has shifted here is younger voters. Those under the age of 50 are taking out their anger, it seems to me, that they have against President Trump. They're going to take it out against Republicans in Congress this fall. This is a titanic type of shift away from the Republican Party and to the Democratic Party.
A generally believed predictor, of course, in how things will pan out is the enthusiasm.
Seriously, I look like, it looks like a member of ABBA is meeting with her business manager.
Gap, if you will. So the most motivated voters, the people most excited or most, excited to turn out in the midterms. How is this looking?
Yeah, younger voters are as excited to turn out for this midterm as I am. Every single morning I appear with you as I bam off the screen, to quote Emeril Lagasse. And these are bam numbers. I mean, look at this. Voters under the age of 50, the choice for the House, among the extremely motivated. You know, you go back to the fall of 2024, Democrats only had a 2-point lead amongst them. Look at this lead now in the 2026 average. It's a 46-point advantage among the voters who are most likely to turn out, because midterm elections have
because of regret.
Lower turnout than presidential years. The extremely motivated is a very key. That's wild. This is wild. This is a wild.
That's wild. I gotta tell you, it's wild. Who can take the sunrise? It's wild, man. I'm telling you.
Shift. Taking the words right out of my mouth. We're talking about a 44-point shift amongst those who are extremely motivated to turn out and vote. These are the types of numbers that blue waves are made of. And if there is a blue wave come November, it will be because of voters under the age of 50, younger voters who gave Republicans and President Trump a try in 2020.
Oh, and the 1 out of 5 Republican voters that is staying home. Because even if they talk favorably and all this kind of stuff, what matters is who actually goes out and votes. This is why this one's really important. I wonder if he shows the motivation of Republican voters after this.
They are doing a 180, and they're saying, you know what, we're going back to Team Blue, at least in the polling we see so far.
So far, it's good to see you here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, they don't go to it. Damn it.
Voters are angry. They are hungry for change in Washington, and more of them are now looking towards the Democratic Party to make that happen.
Yeah, and if it doesn't happen right away because we don't have enough to get Trump out of there, they're going to blame us for all of it. Jesus.
The big takeaways from our brand new CNN poll that has just come out. It shows Democrats hold an 8-point edge over Republicans among registered voters, and they hold a large 20
the regret matrix
point advantage among those who say they are extremely motivated.
people who regret and want to try and erase their fuck up from last time.
To vote. CNN Washington Bureau Chief David Chalian joining us now. We're less than 100 days away from the midterms now. What else are these polls telling us?
Okay, wait. I would love to hear what those polls are telling us, but I want somebody to tell me what the real problem is. Hold on. But, you know, on the Democratic side of things, who's going to really sort of push for support for Democrats to really turn this, what seems to be a blue wave in polling, into a blue wave at the polls? And who's going to go out there and help everybody? Oh, no, they're just attacking Fauci. All right. Here's TYT. What is Anthony Fauci hiding?
Senator Paul's obvious obsession with calling for my prosecution, his repeated slanderous comments about me, and recently his publicly releasing my unredacted personal diary.
Now, that's not fair. Real quick, they did redact some of it after they released the unredacted version. They redacted a little more of it, and they took out a bunch of stuff where he talked about his interactions with Stephen Miller and his wife and those folks in the White House. They took out a lot of stuff where they were agreeing with him at the time, and he was saying they're working really well with me. That stuff got redacted. So,
yeah, if they ask, I forgot it.
You ain't seen nothing.
Yeah. We ain't saying nothing. Black bar over my past, can't
be afraid.
Screenshots cropped out, can't catch this. If it looks too wild,
so they did redact his diary where it was embarrassing to the Trump administration. Just throwing that out there. All right.
Aimed at embarrassing and intimidating me, the only conclusion I can reach is that the sole reason he is calling me before this committee is to get me to say something.
And just look what it says above. Dr. Anthony Fauci repeatedly pleads the fifth in Senate hearing. Look what it says in the little red area above it, where you might have your little, channel graphic and all that shit, or whatever, name or whatever. It just says sick.
Anything that could vindicate his repeated public pledges that I end up, in his words, quote, behind bars.
That was just a little taste of Anthony Fauci's opening statement.
You go get him, Anna. Go get that Anthony Fauci and his terrible, sick, pathetic sickness.
As he testified before the Senate Homeland Security and Governmental Affairs Committee. Now, unfortunately, his opening statement was really the only time he said anything at all, because he invoked his Fifth Amendment right over and over again for the remainder of the hearing. Now, Senator Josh Hawley called it out.
Go for it. Go. Yes. Thank you. Thank you. Call out, give a shout out rather to Josh Hawley for calling out this bullshit. Thank you. The new hero of TYT, Josh Hawley, the man who had the guts to speak truth to power.
Take a look.
Well, nothing says honesty like taking the fifth, huh, Doc? Let's try something. What day of the week is it today?
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer based upon my rights under the Fifth Amendment to the Constitution.
What color tie are you wearing?
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer based upon my rights under the Fifth Amendment to the Constitution.
What color's the carpet in front of you?
Okay, by the way, Josh Hawley was an attorney and I guess an AG, and he knows that by answering a normal question, you can't plead the fifth part of the time. You either got to say my testimony is I'm not doing it, or you don't. And if you open a window, you absolutely can. They can go after you to make you answer more things because you are capable of answering things. You are, and they can specify stuff that wouldn't incriminate you and stuff that would, which would help them narrow down to what criminal activity you had. So the way the courts look at the Fifth Amendment is, if they make you narrow down to just the things that might incriminate you, they can build a case on you even while you're invoking your right to Fifth Amendment privilege. So you don't answer anything. This is exactly why Donald Trump did the same thing. The only difference was he didn't have some dick sitting there asking him what color his tie is.
On the advice of counsel.
By the way, I don't know if Anna is stupid or evil on this point. Either she knows it and she's letting this slide. Maybe she doesn't. We'll see. Or she's dumb and and shouldn't even be discussing this part of it because she does not have the tools necessary to tell the difference between reality and fiction, a good idea and a bad idea, have an opinion that's worth a fuck.
We decline to answer based upon my rights under the Fifth Amendment to the Constitution.
Let's just get one thing straight. You don't have any rights under the Fifth Amendment because you've been pardoned, as you very well know. As the Supreme Court has been clear for a century and more, Brown versus Walker, 1896, when he has been pardoned, he may not stand upon his privilege. You know that. Your lawyer.
Right. But the idea is you can't make him commit a new crime.
Sitting behind you now.
Oh, the sync is off a tad? That's odd. Mine as well? Hello? Seems all right on my end. So it must be a...
They know it. This isn't about the Constitution. This isn't about the law. This is about contempt.
So yesterday, when we were covering Fauci's diary entries on the show, I had totally forgotten about the fact that former President Joe Biden had done these blanket pardons before leaving office, and he did preemptively pardon Anthony Fauci before leaving office.
Right, so they couldn't bankrupt him by taking him to court and make him defend shit that was either not his decision or a decision that crossed over from the Trump administration into the Biden administration or back again. That's the Trump administration and the campaign had already made clear that they were going to weaponize the Justice Department and go after their enemies. So one of the ways that you can prevent that is a blanket pardon, so they have no grounds to do it.
So when I was talking about the need to prosecute Fauci, it turns out you can't prosecute Fauci thanks to Joe Biden's pardon. Now, why would I want to prosecute Fauci? Well, those diary entries, which were released by Senator Rand Paul, ahead of this hearing, indicated that Fauci lied to the American people about a lot of things, including the origin of the coronavirus.
Oh, no, he didn't. Nope. Difference of opinion and him overriding three people in it, having a 10-person group. Three people are saying that they thought it was artificial origin, and the rest of them saying it was organic, and it could have come from there. And they're not being able to have access to the information inside the Wuhan lab, even though they'd gotten allegedly the genome of it from China and had started working on vaccines based on that genome. The assumption between those was that the volume of people that believed that it was an organic disease that may have either escaped the lab or, again, was probably from a sold pangolin carcass at the wet market, or both. Didn't matter. It was this lack of security that made that a problem. That's not on him. That's just him going, this is the prevalence of information, and it wasn't even a jump ball, but as the deciding party in this, as the head of the department, he had to come down on one or the other, and he came down with the consensus. This is so stupid.
Of coronavirus.
Okay, so what was the origin of coronavirus? Anna, tell them what it was. Was it a bioweapon created in a Chinese lab that they leaked out, wink, wink, accidentally? Or was it them trying to see what it would take to turn some of these more prevalent ones that are in portions of Vietnam and southern China? Are they close to being able to jump, or could they not? Do we have to worry about a couple of cycles from now that this particular strain will jump into another, so they gain a function it to see if it will jump, and if it does or it doesn't, they'll know whether to worry about it and put resources towards that in the future. The same thing with avian flu and swine flu and all these things that have broken out of China. And whether or not the quality of the work that's done there, that's a question for another fucking day. But tell us which one it was. Did they grab a bunch of different variants and they had it in there and then it got out because they were testing it on animals to see if it was fatal? Did they gain a function it up to see if it could jump to humans? using human cells to test it on. And then that pangolin that they injected it with, that died from it or whatever, was sold at a wet market and somebody had it. Was it literally the government sneaking it out in a fucking briefcase while a sweaty guy on an airplane, like it's 12 fucking monkeys, spread it to the rest of the world? What was it? Because if you want to put the guy in jail for it and you think he was lying about it, you have to compare it to the real knowledge that exists, not just what you think happened.
Over it again in just a minute. But if he is safe from prosecution, now would be a great time to be forthright with the American people. But
well, he can be in interviews and the like. But when you have a hostile party trying to interview you under oath and create a brand new lie so that they can jail you for contempt, not for the crime itself, because they don't like your answer, or they didn't think it was complete, or you promised to give the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. So you don't give the whole truth because you're just giving the answer that you think pertains to their question, and they don't have a secondary question because they only have 5 minutes, because it's not a court of law where an attorney can go after you for hours, and take lunch breaks and come back and do it again. They can say you didn't give the whole truth, even though they didn't ask you a whole question, right? That's the fear. And it's a reasonable one.
Against doing that. And it really does show him for who he really is.
Somebody who doesn't want to be jailed by the Republicans for shit they didn't like.
And it's pretty devastating because there are a lot of people in this country, myself included, who put a lot of trust in him at a time of chaos, panic, at a time of instability.
Where was the chaos? Why would there be chaos and panic and instability if he knew something and he hid it? Or could it just be that there were a lot of moving fucking parts and he, like the rest of the team, were doing the best with the information they had at the time? Again, he was like against masks in the beginning, and then realized that it might be that the volume of the virus you're experiencing, that you're exposed to, might actually impact how sick you get. So a mask would slow that down, even if it's on surfaces, even if you touch a little bit to your eye or whatever. It's a big difference than somebody coughing a big, spray of phlegm in your fucking face. That might actually impact it, right? That there was a diminished contact spread, or airborne spread from people speaking when they wore masks, and that was the consensus by, I think, the Australians came to that first.
Instability in our federal government where we didn't know who to trust, and he took advantage of Americans at a time when we were deeply vulnerable and terrified.
I'm sorry. We were all science raped by Anthony Fauci? What?
So,
took advantage of us to what? Fulfill his dream of shutting down schools, killing churches? What's the right-wing talking point that you seem in agreement with on this? The dude didn't have stock in fucking Pfizer the way the Trump kids did.
Listen, when we covered this story yesterday, apparently some people were so offended that we would dare to tell the truth after coming across new information about Anthony Fauci that,
again, new information, wink, wink,
that they've unsubscribed. And okay, if you don't want to know the truth, that's totally fine. But for those who do want to know the truth, because it's important to prevent this kind of stuff from happening in the future, think about the number of people who died. Think about the number of people who literally lost everything.
Okay. I think the people who died literally lost everything. Everybody else may have lost their business because they tried to stay open when it wasn't a good idea, and it was a contact disease and an airborne disease. What was the part? And by the way, the guarantee window where you're like, oh, we now know, and looking back, that you can't catch it this way and you can't catch it this way, and it's probably not best to put you on a respirator too early. Because of it does more damage than, it can create a situation where it's the pneumonia that goes after you. It's an immune issue where now we have monoclonal antibodies for it, or we have a vaccine for it. And the vaccine may even give you some of the symptoms like vaccines do. And one of those things might be tachycardia or an enlarged heart for a period of time in 15-year-old boys, which again, that was the Johnson & Johnson non-mRNA, which people like Anna don't make the distinction when they talk about vaccine damage and what caused it. It's so aggravating. Okay, she'll tell us.
Someone I grew up with who worked her ass off I mean, she was working from like 14, okay, because she wanted to. Like, she wanted to learn how to style and dye hair. And she wanted to own, her biggest dream was to own a hair salon. She worked really hard and actually accomplished that. COVID destroyed it. She now does not have a business.
She didn't qualify for a PPP loan? Why wouldn't she? What the fuck does that mean? And also, is Anna making the case that COVID-19 was not a contagious disease? Also, by the way, I'm certain that Anna thinks America had the most dead people of any country and that China had less than 5,000 dead. I'm fairly certain if you questioned her, she's gonna believe the early CCP number, or maybe the updated less than 50,000 number they put out about a year ago, right? One of those numbers. When it's more than likely closer to 250 million people, and there's no way it's less than 50 million.
She's just one person who experienced that. So many Americans lost everything as a.
That's why the Democrats passed a fucking rescue package, and why the Democrats in the first place put forward this bill. Remember when Trump was like, I didn't ask for it. They asked for $1 billion. They gave me $2 billion to deal with this. We asked for $40 billion. They gave us $80 billion for the PPP loans and stuff. Now, obviously, there was a downside to the PPP loans because Marjorie Taylor Greene got one for a business that God knows what the fuck she was doing at the time, but she used it to get elected. She used that to fund her fucking campaign. I don't think Anna or Cenk will ask her when they, bring her on as one of the new heroes.
How our government handled its response to the pandemic. And we need to learn from that. We need to prevent that from happening again. Okay,
here, you want to prevent that from happening? Don't help a person who will tear up the pandemic response plan ahead of time. Don't shit on the Democrats that created the plan in the first place, and then help this fucker get elected. And then go, maybe I can't understand how it turned out this way.
But unfortunately, we're not dealing with people who have the best interests of the people of this country in mind. Anyway.
Yes, this is go America first, Anna. When's your interview with Nick Fuentes? I can't wait.
So look, the point of this hearing was to, dive into the origins of and the governmental response to the COVID-19 pandemic.
Why? That same committee already did a report on it. There was nothing new in the diaries that came out that would affect that report. There is no new information. None.
Now, Fauci's refusal to cooperate did not mean there were no spicy moments in this hearing. Now, Republican Senator Bernie Moreno, who's he's a Republican from Ohio.
But you love him.
Engaged in a pretty fiery.
He said, he said, who the fuck do you think you are at the end of it? Because he ran out of time.
Rant about Fauci. And so before we get to the clip, I want to give you some context. Moreno said he decided to run for office soon after learning that a woman was arrested at an Ohio middle school football game in 2020 for refusing to wear a mask, which was reportedly against the school's policy at the time.
Right. But she wasn't arrested for not wearing the mask. She was arrested for not wearing the mask and refusing to leave. That's the other thing.
Now, with that in mind, here's more of.
And it was an outdoor thing or whatever. And again, some of these things went too far, but it was a state by state issue. I don't remember. We watched a lot of those fucking Trump Fauci press conferences over and over and over again. And as far as people interacting outdoors or people wearing a mask while they're alone in their car, those kind of things, those kind of reactions, either on an individual level or from a school or something like that, that's not Fauci's issue. And the idea that he was like against the mask for a minute and then for the mask later isn't indicative that he lied the country into this poor woman getting arrested.
Had to say to Anthony Fauci.
I cannot stand idly on the side and watch this happen. It was about 6 years ago today that I decided I'm going to give up my businesses, sell them all, run for office, run for the United States Senate. Here I am sitting in front of you 6 years later saying, who the do you think you were for doing that? It is a total disgrace what you did to this country. There is no defense of what you did. You may have had a 50-plus year legacy of public service, but it ends in total and complete disgrace.
Okay, so just so you know, the woman's name was Alicia Kitts. Here she is. And specifically, the Logan Hocking School District, this is in Ohio, by the way, required all spectators to wear face coverings while on school property to comply with athletic and health department guidelines from the school. The school set those athletic and health department guidelines, okay? And it wasn't because she was sitting in the stands by herself. She was amongst her, I guess, her family or whatever, but they were amongst other people. And the idea was, it wasn't so much that you must wear a mask outside, and that's where they were. It's that they were sitting close, and they wanted to get people in the stands together. And so wearing a mask was one of the ways that you could do that. And the choice was have the stands half empty or have people not show up or whatever. And the arrest part, they just asked her to leave if she wasn't going to, because she said she had asthma. If you have asthma, you have more of a reason to be wearing a fucking mask during COVID. The officer asked her multiple times, that told her she had to leave the property if she refused to comply. She repeatedly refused to leave. He informed her she was under arrest for trespassing because that was the policy of the school and the health department. And she resisted arrest while she was being handcuffed, and she was tased because of that. She was charged with criminal trespassing and released at the scene later. The arrest was strictly the result of her refusing to leave private school property after violating stadium rules rather than a direct legal penalty for not wearing a mask. So that's why she was ultimately, that's who he's talking about.
An opportunity to answer one question. Will you apologize, just apologize, to the people who you harmed through your actions? Will you say, do you have the dignity to just say you're sorry?
And this is so fucking weird because Pence said this. Trump wasn't like wearing a mask, and then he was. Remember the times he wore a mask? When he went to the hospital that time, he was wearing a mask when he walked around because he'd had COVID.
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer based upon my rights under the Fifth Amendment to the Constitution.
Oh, by the way, real quick, back up. The guy over Fauci's shoulder, see that guy over there? Not him, the one right behind him with the glasses. That's the dude from the Tucker Carlson clip. That was, a COVID truther.
Decline to answer based upon my rights under the Fifth Amendment to the Constitution.
Do you know you're brain rotting?
Oh, God. Yeah, of course. That's Noble Mobile. Jesus Christ. Why don't you sell gold while you're at it?
There's so many things that we learned from his journal entries that were infuriating. But for me, one of the most infuriating things was how he would publicly deny that there was a lab leak that led to this virus spreading. Okay, publicly, he called these people lunatics, conspiracy theorists. No. The virus originated from a wet market in China. That's what he said.
Okay, by the way, again, playing fast and loose with the lab leak part of it. The idea that it got to the wet market via the Wuhan lab or via the animals that people brought in and sold at that wet market, even if they were headed to the wet market and the wet market bought half the pangolins they brought in and the other half of them went to that wet market and they had the disease because they were picked for that reason, because they were originally for Wuhan. They're like, we got enough. We got 6 pangolins. We don't need any more. And they sold the other ones and they knew they were sick. neither matters for the fact that we know where the site came from. The question, the lab leak part, she's like, the lie about the lab leak boils down to, do you believe the Chinese government was creating a weaponized coronavirus to intentionally kill people and it broke out? Because if it was, again, an accident based on gain of function, Trump overturned the Obama rule on limiting gain of function, on shutting down funding for it.
Now, we learn in his journal, he said something entirely different. Now, we're going to revisit that. But first,
Please do, right away.
Want to say, the Democrats in this committee defended Fauci despite what we learned from the journal entries. And I just want to understand, why is this a partisan issue? Why is this a partisan issue? This shouldn't be a partisan issue. This should be an issue where you look at the evidence, you look at his conduct, and you...
Great. Then get at the assuredness that you know, especially in hindsight, based on what we know now versus what we knew then, and the moving goalpost in and amongst itself, and him trying to make the best judgment that he made, and them weaponizing it against him at the time, even though Trump was taking advice. Like, I didn't really take his advice. So all the shit about masks and all that stuff that occurred was him. At one point, Trump said, anything Fauci told me, I did the opposite. So on their governor's calls and all that kind of stuff, where they were coordinating with the health departments across the entire country, where Mike Pence was talking to all of the mask policies that came out of that, Trump says, that was me, not Fauci. And you can't go, she has to attack Democrats as a huge part of this, even though the policies that were introduced under Trump.
Stick to the facts.
Go, give us some facts.
But the turning a global pandemic into a partisan issue is one of the dumbest things imaginable.
I'm sorry. What's the partisan part? If you know it was a global pandemic, that means it was a highly contagious, dangerous disease. The proper response to a global pandemic would be the most draconian safety measures you can possibly fucking take. The only reason the lab leak shit would be meaningful is if you don't actually think it was as dangerous as they said.
That's what we do in this country. They turned it into a culture war, when in reality, this has to do with questions of life and death. It has to do with questions of how the government should respond, whether or not the government should fund something known as gain of function research. And if they do fund it, what type of gain of function research is okay to pursue? But we're not.
Well, there's two kinds, especially when it comes to diseases and parasitic infections around, or viral infections around cattle, birds, livestock of any sort, and seeing if that can make the jump into humans because it can spread so quickly, like avian flu did, which is why we had to destroy 6 million fucking chickens and throw out that's why eggs were so expensive, for example, because the disease kills all the chickens and you have to kill them before they can spread it to everybody else. But also, if it were to jump to humans, that the most likely disease to make a jump from animals to humans is a coronavirus, is the kind that can enter your nasal passages, your throat, your eyes, and infect you, and then mutate into a comfortable form that can make a human sick, and then spread from you to someone else because of the same traits. The corona is those little hooks on it, those little protein things that latch onto other cells. That's the concern. And so if one of them is, if China's telling you it's killing a couple of thousand people, you know they're fucking lying. The overreaction is probably the smart, cautious reaction. And you can't, on the one hand, go, oh my God, 1 million people died in the United States, and then go, my friend lost her fucking hair salon because of this bullshit.
Conversation, are we?
We did have this conversation during the Obama administration, and you guys fucking called him a fascist.
So a group of 155 scientists, doctors, and public health advocates also signed a letter defending Fauci. I don't know if they read any of Fauci's journal entries.
No, they're just doing the actual science about the actual shit. It doesn't matter what he thought. They agreed with what he suggested because the science meets what he said in public, even if he doubted it in person. Some of them overrode what he thought.
But they wanted to defend Fauci while
also not him, the policy, the cautious approach, the safety first idea.
Scientific community as victims of the Trump administration. Now, look, I agree. The Trump administration has not been friendly to scientists.
Oh, that's so generous.
However, this is not the right context to make that argument.
Why? Because 1 million Americans didn't die? Because Donald Trump didn't want to let a cruise ship with 64 cases of COVID dock in San Francisco because that would double his number of cases?
So they say in the letter alleges that the Trump administration and its congressional allies are waging a war on individual scientists through public harassment, arrests. I don't know who they're referring to when they talk about arrests. Anthony Fauci has never been arrested.
That's because he was pardoned ahead of time. That's why the pardon was necessary.
Indictment and ongoing threats
Jesus. Yeah, I know. That's you know what? I do think we should bring that up. CSL, thank you for popping into that for us, because you gotta love this one. This is one of our favorite go-tos, and I don't know if Anna has actually seen this one. Does this qualify as new information for Anna? Let's see. There you go. Let's see. Where is it? 41, 42, 43. Let's see. There you go. See if that's it.
As a doctor, is a plus as a promoter and probably a C or a D as a doctor.
We now know from emails that have been released under the Freedom of Information Act that he was getting his advice from the likes of Peter Daszak, a Wuhan collaborator. At the same time, he was telling you that this was a natural virus, while at the same time, behind the scenes in emails, he was having discussions about whether this might have been genetically manipulated. Does that...
Also, they were all having that discussion because they didn't know. That when you have a novel coronavirus, remember when it was called that? COVID-19. Why is it called 19? Because it occurred in 2019 and was starting to spread. It wasn't COVID-20. It wasn't COVID-21. It wasn't 25. Those come up all the time. This was the novel one in 2019. And they were like, was it made? Was it natural? That was the discussion. You should have that discussion. Scientists always should have that discussion. Just because in their early conclusions, they came to a conclusion that didn't match up with later conclusions when they had more information. That's how fucking science works.
Shock you?
Well, he was dealing with them, certainly. And my thing was a little bit different. I just wanted to stop it. Whether it developed one way or the other, I just wanted to stop it.
But it's important to know where it came from. It's extremely important to know how it developed.
Fauci was dealing with them, and I guess they were even making payments for certain kinds of research. And I ended that too. I stopped that. When we found out about that, he was doing that during the Obama years. And when I found out about it, I said, can you imagine that the United States is making payments to a Chinese lab?
Yeah, we were funding through the WHO and other groups security at that lab. And when it comes to biolabs, especially when they're tracking possible contagions, we do pay for some of that because it gives us access so that if a novel coronavirus shows up, we can actually do something about it. He actually cut that off, so it removed our ability to have oversight while it was happening. Maybe that's why there was a leak from the fucking lab in the first place, Mr. Release 5,000 Taliban fighters before you even have a plan to evacuate the civilians from our team.
That on his face didn't make sense, but I stopped that.
The Obama administration did hit pause on gain-of-function research, though, and that was lifted under your watch.
Dong, 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 huh? I love that look on his face. It's priceless. Let's hear that again.
Sense, but I stopped that.
The Obama administration did hit pause on gain-of-function research, though, and that was lifted under your watch. Why did you allow the gain-of-function research to continue?
Well, I think probably people that worked for me looked at it, and at one point they might have done that. But ultimately, what we did was we shut it off. We shut the whole thing off.
Yeah, no, you didn't. That was, and again, that goes to that one of those things like, sorry, do you think, where is it? Back over here. Yeah. You think Anna's seen that clip? I'm guessing, yeah, at some point, right?
Prosecution. Anthony Fauci, let me remind
She's a journalist. She teaches a class on journalism.
You, was preemptively pardoned by Joe Biden before he left office. Okay. Multiple. So that's what they say. They say the charges against Dr. Fauci are baseless, suggesting he covered up. This is the important part. Suggesting he covered up the origins of COVID, that he bribed or persuaded other scientists to join his cover up, that NIAID funded research sparked the pandemic, that he personally holds patents on the virus, and that he's working with intelligence agencies to suppress the true story of the pandemic, the letter states. No credible evidence has been produced to support these absurd charges, except there has been credible evidence, and that credible evidence comes in the form of Dr. Anthony Fauci's own journal entries.
Let's hear them. Do you think these journal entries prove any of that? Let's see.
So, like,
what are they?
Are we going to, were they false? Were they totally manufactured? Are they fake? Because Anthony Fauci doesn't say that those journal entries are fake. And in fact, maybe we should take a look at those journal entries again, so you guys get a sense of what I'm talking about here.
Yeah, let's get to the reading comprehension portion of the show.
So as we shared with you yesterday, Senator Rand Paul released thousands of pages from Fauci's journal.
Yeah, he redacted some of the stuff, though, especially when it came to conversations with people who were in the White House then and who are in the White House now.
Now, you might be wondering, well, how did Senator Paul get his hands on Fauci's journal? Fauci wrote these journal entries on a government computer, thus making it available for freedom of information request. It belongs to the government. Okay.
I'm just really excited about the fact that Anna and Cenk, and I guess everybody at TYT, believes that any private note-taking you take, your employer should have the right to look at this. So I just want you to remember the next time they talk to you about how scary it is that Amazon is, looking over the shoulder of employees while they're on their computer, or that they scan their hard drive for any personal information, all that kind of stuff. Anna is now soundly on the side of Amazon or your employer in that situation. If you write a private note to yourself and you have a belief and a right to privacy within it, you don't, according to everybody at TYT. You are a corporate cog. Get used to the idea.
Have it. So from his journal, we learned that only a few scientists, 2 scientists, in fact, early on in the pandemic, real early on in the pandemic, we're open to his theory that COVID was a naturally developed virus that jumped from animal to human in a wet market in China. Only 2.
Okay, so hold on. Read the journal entry, not your interpretation of it, because there are several parts of that. The big one being, of course, that it came from a wet market. There might be a bunch of them that don't believe that. They might believe the organic part, that it jumped from an animal to a human. Where it happened, they might debate. But to believe all those things narrows the field, especially early on. So, you see how she's conflating multiple decision tree points on this? That only a narrow group believed all of it at once, as opposed to, I think it's probably a natural transmission. Majority of them say natural transmission. But I don't know about the wet market part. It might have happened in the Wuhan lab. But that gets closer to whether it was natural or organic and whether the jump was natural or organic.
Others were like, this looks like a lab leak.
Also, what do you mean a lab leak? Again, I've made this case for a long time. The lab leak could have been in the form of dead animals from that lab that they were testing on that were sold at the fucking wet market. These are not conflicting ideas. That's how the lab leak most likely happened. It happened. They have this issue in China with people like just people buying shit under the table, like old factory parts and stuff like that. You'll go in and you start working on a sewing machine and fucking bolts have been taken out of it and sold to the guy who owns the building's buddy. It happens all the time. And so it's not that weird that people are taking the corpses of these animals that they tested them on and idiotically selling them for food, going, well, I'll cook it. Once they heat it up to cooking temperature, they just want the fucking scales, or they just want the hair, or they just want the skin. And once they treat it, obviously, if it's for, who cares? That's the problem.
The rest suspected the virus might have been created artificially, not least because a leading scientist in Wuhan, Shi Zhengli,
Zhengli
was known to engage in the sort of gain of
and Zhengli, not Xi. Xi, you see that one all the time. That's Xi Jinping. That's XI. Try a little harder.
Research that could produce such a result. Now let's get to Fauci's diary entry. The diary suggests that by January 26, 2020, so this is
January 26th.
Even before the lockdowns happened, okay? Dr. Fauci believed the virus had not originated in the Wuhan wet market, often identified as the source by natural origin advocates.
Okay, this is a mismatch of reality. First of all, the virus wouldn't have originated in the Wuhan wet market. It would have originated wherever they got the animal from. So the breakout, the first time a human was infected, would be the originating in the Wuhan wet market. I know I'm splitting hairs here, but it's kind of important. So that this still doesn't answer whether that animal got there from the lab or from a natural site. Somebody brought it in from the woods and sold it, caught it in a trap, sold it. That's how it spread. Somebody got it from the lab because they ended up using it or not using it, or it survived and it didn't die, so they kill it and sell it. And both bring the origin part to the wet market possibly, but they're still two steps behind it. Either came from the people who trafficked in the animals and brought them, and that's where the disease started in the first place, or it happened in the lab, and that's how it got there. None of them are mutually exclusive. Okay.
This did not stop him and allies from painting skeptics of the natural origin theory as politicized cranks and conspiracy theorists.
That's not his diary entry. Read what he fucking said. Don't shake your head. Did she just say we're going to read sections from we're going to revisit what was written? This is from the editorial board at the Wall Street Journal. Then read the fucking section that they're referencing. The diary suggests, Jesus Christ. The diary suggests that he believed the virus. Can you see all the... we're talking about science, and unsettled science, especially at the time. January 26, 2020, believed that the virus hadn't originated in the Wuhan wet market. Because of what? There were 5 other possible sites it could have come from besides the lab? This is so fucking stupid.
Theorists.
Oh my God. Anna hates being called a conspiracy theorist.
I remember early on in the pandemic, after the lockdowns had happened and we had a shortage of masks, Dr. Anthony Fauci told the American people, oh, you don't need masks. Don't worry, you don't need masks. And the reason why he said that is because we had a severe mask shortage and we had to save whatever masks we did have for frontline healthcare workers.
Okay, so he was lying about... Why'd you play the Moreno clip if he was right about we needed masks, but he lied about us not needing them now?
But when you say that, what it does is it dissuades Americans from using N95 masks once you have enough of them to encourage Americans to use them.
There was actually a disagreement early on that he was stuck with from years before that about the potential for masks to stop the spread of a coronavirus specifically, like the flu or something like that, which obviously it keeps people who've already got it from spreading it, but it wouldn't necessarily, in theory, prevent people who are wearing it from getting it, because most people get it by touching their eyes, shaking hands, and that kind of stuff. They're not going to expel it. They're going to do it. So the masks were for people who had it and didn't know it was the primary thing. And usually when it's the flu and stuff, it's not the nature of it is such that you would never shut down society or make everybody wear a fucking mask when it's just the goddamn flu, even if it kills 60,000 people a year. This was wholly different. Ugh.
Regardless of his conduct or lies, again, preemptively, he was pardoned by Biden. And now we all know why.
So that they couldn't bankrupt him by throwing him in jail for idiotic reasons like people misinterpreting science?
Why? By the way, the reason why he kept pleading the fifth is because he didn't want to perjure himself during this hearing. Had he perjured himself, well, then there could be charges against him.
Hey, there you go. All right, and all they got to do is hold him in contempt, and that's enough, right? If he answered one and he didn't answer another, that's the other problem too. That's the issue. They're trying to create a new crime by reading things, by the way, in a timeline of saying, did you start here? Did you believe this then? Yes. Is it still true? No. So you lied then? No. That was the best information we had at the time. That's where they're going to try and, in that wiggle room of the reality of as it was going down in 2020. And by the way, the rest of the world fucking locked down. They didn't lock down because of fucking Fauci. China didn't start building fucking prisons for people who got sick and feeding them under the door. And if you lived, they let you out. And if you died, they just burned you. They didn't do that on Fauci's recommendation.
That he hasn't been pardoned for. So he knew.
Right. So it was a good idea for him to not do that. So that they couldn't use a debatable aspect of what he believed and what he said, and whether he regrets it or whether he doesn't, or what he told people or what he didn't, or what was true in his diary and what was true in reality. Because again, who's to say what he wrote in his diary is the whole truth? So if you use his diary as evidence against him, he can go, well, that's actually not what I felt at the time. I changed my mind later, but I didn't write it down. Liar, you're going to jail. That's how this works. What was he doing? What did he do? How did fucking Fauci destroy the country, and how is he responsible for the deaths under COVID? And if you're going to go with gain of function, again, he has reason to believe that gain of function, even if you disagree with him, has value. And there will be variations of gain of function that will be going on worldwide all the fucking time, whether we do it or not. So the question is, you could disagree with his value system or his belief or whether that's a good idea. You can disagree with him as a doctor who's been dealing with diseases like Ebola and AIDS and coronaviruses for years, whether or not they're like, oh, fuck, how do we get ahead of this? Gain of function is one of the ways you get ahead of it. You learn how it transmits. You see if it's even possible for one to jump over, and you go, yep, this one could jump. We really got to watch out for this one. So if this is spreading in pigs and this strain, this could jump pretty easily. In one generation, it could jump to humans. So you got to slaughter all the pigs and start from scratch. If it's this one's not going to, it took us 9 steps to get it to the point where it could jump to humans. Not a concern. It's fucking science, you dipshit. God damn.
Anyway, sorry if this news, which is easily verifiable, offends anybody.
It's not news and it's not easily verifiable. Again, you're reading the Wall Street Journal and you're using quotes from Josh Hawley and Moreno. What are you talking about? This doesn't settle shit.
all know the truth, and this is unfortunately the truth.
What's the truth? That your friend who was a hairdresser didn't get a PPP loan because she didn't have the paperwork for it, or she didn't do it, or whatever, even though the Democrats made it easier in their first year. There was a bunch of fraud around it just because they wanted to make sure that the reins weren't too tight, that real people who needed it would have to jump through too many fucking hoops. This is so fucking weird. Yeah, she's just mad that Fauci didn't promote ivermectin. Is that it?
And by the way, I wanted to go to one other thing.
Oh, good.
I want to go to the next video because Anthony Fauci had perjured himself previously. Now he's been given a blanket pardon by Biden. The video that you're about to see is from May 11th, 2021. But this is the kind of stuff that he was saying to the American people during these congressional hearings.
In the middle of an actual pandemic.
That were just brazen lies. Take a look.
Okay, here it is. Brazen lie number 1, May 11th, 2021.
Dr. Fauci, do you still support funding of the NIH funding of the lab in Wuhan?
Senator Paul, with all due respect, you are entirely and completely incorrect that the NIH has not ever and does not now fund gain of function research in the Wuhan Institute.
Do they fund Dr. Barrick?
We do not fund.
Do you fund Dr. Barrick's gain of function research?
Dr. Barrett does not doing gain of function research, and if it is, it's according to the guidelines, and it is being conducted in North Carolina.
You don't think inserting a bat virus spike protein that he got from the Wuhan Institute into the SARS virus is gain of function?
That is
you would
not
be in the minority because.
Yeah, again, this is one of those situations where, like, if you listen to what he's actually saying and you listen to the question that Rand Paul, he's not lying. He even said if he's doing gain of function, if this guy is doing gain of function, he's doing it in America in an American lab. Even if he got the fucking spike protein from the virus in China from the Wuhan lab where they gather these animals, the case he's making is that work the American work on that is being done in South Carolina or whatever. So stupid.
These 200 scientists have signed a statement from the Cambridge Working Group saying that it is gain of function.
Well, it is not.
So he lied during that hearing.
No, he didn't. The work done in the lab is what he was talking about in Wuhan. And they're not funding that guy's gain of function shit at the Wuhan lab. If he's doing gain of function stuff, he's doing it in the United States at a safe lab. That's what that means. This is so lazy.
This is some bullshit. We see through it. This is some bullshit.
And ultimately, what is this all about? What, blaming Democrats for her friend losing her hair salon? For real. So at some point, Fauci was trying to, create a bioweapon in the Wuhan lab, and he got caught, and then he hid it, and they started, Iran contraing money into some dude's pocket so they could fund this gain of function stuff in Wuhan that Donald Trump was fine with for the first 2.5 years of his presidency, apparently. Well, actually, the middle 2 and the third, because as soon as they got in, they basically upended the Obama policy. Just, by the way, blanketly tore up the pandemic response team, allowed for gain of function research, didn't give a fuck. Still don't, by the way. Do you think these assholes would think the Trump administration isn't for gain of function if it has bioweapon detection or creation properties? For real.
How do we know that? The hearing took place May 11th, 2021. By September 9th, 2021, The Intercept, not a right-wing publication, The Intercept got their hands on some incredibly important documents. And what those documents indicated was that and this was reported by Newsweek at the time, Fauci was untruthful to Congress about Wuhan lab research, new documents appear to show.
I love this. Untruthful, for one, but new documents appear to show. If they showed it, why would Newsweek say appear to show? Why when they say Fauci lies to Congress, Wuhan lab doing gain of function? Pow. Why appear to show? Hold on. This is, it doesn't, again, she teaches a journalism course, right? Okay. Okay. Let's see. But at a personal time, okay, the Fauci was untrue. This is the congress.gov. Okay, so yeah, so they entered this into the congressional record. This is from congress.gov. This is from a report done way back then. NIH has denied funding studies that would make a coronavirus more dangerous to humans after it was accused of doing so following the release of research proposals. Documents were obtained and released by The Intercept on Tuesday after it launched a FOIA request. Richard Enbright, Board of Governors for Chemistry and Chemistry Biology at Rutgers, the director included that the NIH, where is it? Fauci, the director of the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Disease, which is part of the NIH, told Congress in May that the NIH has not ever and does not fund gain-of-function research in the Wuhan Institute of Virology. Albright said the documents make it clear that assertions by the NIH director, Francis Collins, and the NIAID director, Anthony Fauci, that the NIH did not support gain-of-function research or potential pandemic pathogen enhancement in Wuhan are untruthful. Okay, I don't remember hearing anything about potential pathogen enhancement. And there seems to be a distinction between that and gain of function, which may be the splitting hairs that allows him to say it without lying, right? You'd skirt the truth, say the truth, but it's not the whole truth in that regard, I suppose. Maybe that's where we're going. But it involves modifying a biological agent like a virus so that it becomes more active. For obvious reasons, gain-of-function research on influenza or coronaviruses has been the subject of substantial scrutiny by the NIH's own admission, as it potentially makes the virus more dangerous to humans. Not all gain-of-function research is equally dangerous. Some types, for example, modify bacteria to produce insulin to treat people with diabetes. Some types of gain-of-function research, for example, modify bacteria to produce insulin to treat people with diabetes. What the NIH has denied is funding of gain-of-function research that would make a coronavirus more dangerous, such as improving its lethality or transmissibility. In 2014, the NIH had paused funding for gain-of-function research that was reasonably anticipated to confer attributes of influenza, Middle East respiratory syndrome, that MERS, and SARS that would make them more transmissible. Speaking to Newsweek, Albright said that this appeared to be false by his interpretation of the documents released by The Intercept. Multiple sections of the grant proposals and grant progress reports make it clear that the grants funded gain-of-function research of concern in Wuhan. Enbright said these sections of the document show that the NIH grant supported the construction of mutant SARS-related coronaviruses that involved blending different types together. The result was lab-generated virus that could infect human cells, he said, adding that at least 3 of the lab-generated viruses exhibited greater than 10 times or 100 times higher viral loads in humanized mice. And this is, by the way, when is the pause? In 2014, it paused that research. Okay, that's when Obama told them to stop. A humanized mouse, okay, we know this. Figure 35 of the 4-year progress report, as referred to by Enright, is shown below as associated caption. Okay, so section of the documents written by The Intercept is, I don't know why they show this separately. 2 documents released by The Intercept can be found here and here. Okay, hold on one second. Nope, that's just, oh, great. Maybe it's attached on the end. Question is whether this work on humanized mice constitutes gain-of-function research on a coronavirus that would make it more dangerous to humans. And Ebright says it was. that it does. Newsweek contacted the NIH for comment from Fauci and received this statement. NIH has never approved, and that's interesting, any research that would make a coronavirus more dangerous to humans. The research we support in China, where coronaviruses are prevalent, sought to understand the behavior of coronaviruses circulating in bats that have the potential to cause widespread disease. The body of science produced by this research demonstrates that the bat coronavirus sequence published from that work NIH supported were not SARS-CoV-2. There we go. CoV-2. The health agency issued a statement in May explicitly denying having ever approved any grant that would have supported gain-of-function research to make coronaviruses more dangerous. The NIH did not immediately respond to a request to confirm it denies funding gain-of-function research in light of the newly released documents. Rand Paul said in Twitter, "I was right about this agency funding novel coronavirus research at Wuhan." And again, no, you weren't. The idea that there's gain-of-function going on there, but funding is going to that, if they're doing gain-of-function research on bacteria for other purposes, and the Chinese lab is also doing gain-of-function research, and you could go, well, it's like the Iran, we have to sanction Iran because the money goes to their proxies, and if we stop the Iran, then the money dries to the proxies. And if you give sanctions relief to Iran, you are providing weapons to Hamas, because if they don't have to pay for food, they can afford more guns. That's the theory that this would, I guess, dovetail on, is that if they were doing gain-of-function research on bacteria, or they were doing gain-of-function research on non-coronaviruses to in this particular instance, but at the lab, other people in the lab were doing gain-of-function research on those coronaviruses, then the only reason they had the money to do those was because we were funding gain-of-function research on bacteria. That's the walk around. Fauci said he never lied before Congress and stood by his assertion that the NIH did not fund gain-of-function research at the Institute of Virology. Senator Paul, you do not know what you're talking about, quite frankly. That's the quote she showed. Is there an addendum on this? No, it's just the pages. Scheisse. Again, this stems from a problem that all gain-of-function research is created equal. That because he didn't believe that it came from the wet market initially, but they believed it later, or that it was a lab leak through the wet market. Like, nobody cares to nail any of this shit down, especially Anna and these dipshits. Fucking stupid. Here's the problem: you don't even know the right questions to ask. This is the problem with Moreno and Rand Paul. If you want to stop shit like this from happening, you have to understand the shit well enough to ask the right questions. Otherwise, you'll always walk into this fucking rake. You'll stop gain of function in bacterial stuff that you need and in viral stuff that can save lives in labs you trust. And you'll let it roll in other places, and then funding that's put there to stop the spread of stuff for security reasons at the Wuhan lab, for example, everybody will say, well, that was repurposed. That money for the security guard and the seals on the door, that was money they didn't have to spend themselves. So technically speaking, they had money freed up to fucking play with CRISPR-Cas9 and make a killer virus.
So again, those were documents obtained by The Intercept, and Newsweek interviewed someone by the name of Richard Ebright, Board of Governors Professor of Chemistry and Chemical Biology at Rutgers University and Laboratory Director at the Waxman Institute of Microbiology. So they interviewed him and asked him, like, take a look at these documents and tell us.
It's the Ed Brown from Newsweek. He said they unequivocally, let me see if I can find that full section. They deny this. Is this the same article, or is this a different one? Is it too much to ask? This document make it clear that the assertions by the NIH director, Francis Collins, and that they did not support it are untruthful. That's what he said. And they subject of scrutiny. I want to find that quote. No, I don't see it. Must be another interview by Ebright.
Take is, since you're an expert at this, right? And what he told Newsweek was that these documents show unequivocally that NIH grants were used to fund controversial gain-of-function research at the Wuhan Institute of Virology in China.
Right, but not on coronaviruses, though. Again, this matters. Gain of function is when you take a trait in one, you take a virus like the common cold, and you manipulate its gene structure, or you crossbreed it with another mutation to see if it gains in function. And the gains of function that it would have is, does it spread easier? Does it cause a different animal, specifically humans, to get sick from it? It starts out as swine flu, but if it comes in contact with this other bacteria, or it comes in contact with this other virus, and they bond together, does the new thing formed have more function than the things that existed separately? And it's one of the ways you find out if you have to be worried about cohabitating livestock that have different diseases. Can those viruses come together? And if they do, will they spread to human beings? And the way they do that is they test it, and then they put them in mice with humanized genes to see if humanized tissue, so they see if it harms their cells and harms them. And they go, okay, shit, this could jump. So we have to be prepared for this kind of thing. And we need to know, if we have an avian flu and a swine flu, and they bounce into each other, and they fucking Reese's cup their way into a human killing machine, we got to monitor and keep these guys separate so that doesn't happen, or minimize it. This is preparatory medicine for infectious disease.
Also said that the documents make it clear that assertions by the NIH director, Francis Collins, and the NIAID director, Anthony Fauci, that the NIH did not support gain-of-function research or potential pandemic pathogen enhancement in Wuhan are untruthful. So that was the reality. That has been the reality.
Well, I got news for you. This particular one, previous to that, the Obama administration, again, shut it off. When Trump came in, they allowed it going forward. That does not mean that the NIH created more grants, but that the grant money that went there was now going to that. You're giving the lab $1,000 to do gain of function stuff. Doing gain of function becomes, the policy shifts. You're not allowed to do that. So you're giving $1,000 them for security to make sure that shit they're fucking around with doesn't spread or whatever. And then Donald Trump comes in and says, yeah, that $1,000 can be used on gain of function, I guess. I don't care. And then they turn it back off, but it's too late. And the money that was going to security goes to gain of function for a while under Trump, goes back to security, and then goes away right when they've been doing gain of function for a couple of years using money that was supposed to be for security.
And I don't know why we're not allowed to know the truth about the US funding gain of function research. Maybe it's because it's so highly controversial. And the reason why it's controversial is if you're dealing with highly contagious pathogens, there could be an accident and there could be a lab leak. And
right, but the reason you're doing it in the first place is because it could happen naturally, and you're checking to make sure it can happen naturally. And if it doesn't, you don't worry about it. You never hear about that part. When it lacks a function or it loses function, you don't notice. But when you do gain a function, you're forewarned is forearmed, is the idea. Getting ahead of a pandemic takes this kind of work. That's the theory. And it's going to be controversial because it's a scary notion to begin with. But it also could save millions of lives if you're ahead of it.
The only person who's saying this, of course, our intelligence community have looked into this themselves. I remember when the FBI report came.
Oh, fuck. She had Kirikow on? Is the CIA actually working for Israel? Oh, my God. That fucking guy.
Came out and said, it's more likely than not that this originated from a lab leak. Anyway.
Again, the fact that it might have come from a lab leak through the wet market tells you nothing about the actual origin of the disease, whether it was made in a lab or whether it was naturally occurring. If they're bringing in animals that have tested positive for these coronaviruses and they just have them there and they've gotten to them and tested them, or they haven't yet or whatever, and then the fucking animal croaks and then some dude goes, I think I'll sell it down the street for $5, or whether they were using gain of function when they were not supposed to, or they were using funding that they weren't supposed to use for that for this, or they're doing all of it. They're getting some money, but it's a blanket grant. So they it's up to them what they're doing. They're not shutting down their gain of function stuff because we're doing some in the States. And the assumption is like, we paid for that lab, these petri dishes, these syringes, these fucking beakers. So we're paying for the gain of function research. What part of it constitutes us funding that research versus just paying for other shit at the lab? This is so fucking lazy. It's so fucking lazy. And the assertion that you fucking know, it is, again, wouldn't be as embarrassing if she didn't supposedly teach a journalism class.
So that's where we are.
Yeah, we're at, seems to point at untruthful, possibly looking at the documents that I'm seeing here during a period, by the way, with the Trump administration shifted the funding back to gain of function for 2 years right before COVID happens.
It's important to know the truth, and that's what this is.
No, it isn't. It's gibberish. And unfortunately, when you have a very intellectually taxing circumstance, having idiots discuss it makes it particularly painful. And the fact that she is fucking citing Josh Hawley and Moreno and all these other assholes, and her anecdotal evidence is her friend who didn't get a PPP loan, who I'm sorry, why, the bigger question is, why did Anna fuck up her friend's business? That's the biggest one. Why in the world did Anna Kasparian watch as her friend's business went up in flames when she allegedly knew at the time that there were enormous PPP loans being handed out? Shit, I would be surprised if TYT didn't get one themselves. Right? She had to have known about PPP loans, right? She had to have reported on the Republicans who were taking advantage of them. And she didn't tell her friend? I guess that's how she was raised. Hit the like, share the show, by the way, and subscribe. It's Hal Sparks Mega Worldwide. Yeah. Now, goddamn, that took so long. All right. Can we do one other stupid thing before I leave? Can we cover one other stupid thing? And then I'll move on, I promise. And then I got to do my shit. I got to take my mom and my son out to dinner tonight. Yeah. So the war has expanded, obviously, and the Iranians are striking American military bases in Jordan, and they've killed, American service people with those strikes. And there was a news today that they struck a place in Egypt. And I want to show you Benny Johnson's thumbnail, just because it really satisfies our, how dumb, this dumb standard. Really, dude? Really? Really? This is I'm sorry, were U.S. troops hiding in the fucking pyramid at Giza? This is so fucking lame. Also, why is this drone firing a missile? All right.
Not happy. He was at Lindsey
Yeah, he's never happy, though. He's a miserable old fart.
Graham's funeral yesterday after meeting with...
Oh, I know. Yeah, that's different. He was mad because he tried to get a Tic Tac out of a Tic Tac container, and it fell through his hands because he's got motor, issues with his hands. And then he found one, he did like that, and then it didn't work, and the Tic Tac didn't keep him awake. He fell asleep.
And Voldemort Zelensky, the leaders of the world, were sitting in the church in National Cathedral, Washington, D.C.
Voldemort Zelensky? Hey, fuckwad. Voldemort in the Harry Potter novels gets his name from the Voldemort. Okay, that's where the name comes from. It's a reference to the Voldemort, which was... which is from the death toll of 3.5 to 5 million people that died in the Holodomor, which was the Ukrainians being starved to death by the Soviets. Specifically, it is a reference, an evil name that comes from something that the Soviets did to the Ukrainians, starving 3.5 to 5 million of them to death. But Benny doesn't know that. You'd have to read or something.
And Iran launched ballistic missiles at our Air Force Base. Again, this is the same Air Force Base where they were able to kill.
I'm sorry. So, because Lindsey Graham's funeral, I guess Zelensky was there and Netanyahu were there, that's why Trump ignored this shit. That's why we were unprepared. Because, Trump was just so enamored by Zelensky that he couldn't take his eyes off of him, and they were trying to hand him his presidential daily briefing that they needed interceptors, and he was just like, well, the what?
For service members, those ballistic missiles were all shot out of the sky, thank God. But it wasn't a pretty picture. It was obviously to send a message to Donald Trump to try and control the terms of what's actually happening in the Middle East. And here's the messy shootdowns last night. I only say messy because, well, Trump is pissed about all of this, and it seems like...
Based on what? He seems to not give a fuck.
Like things are about to get messy. Trump told Fox News he's going to beat the effing S out of Iran.
You know the words are on the screen, right? You just made them bigger.
Here, and we can...
Fucking shit is what it says.
Read. Try not to...
Oh, and we didn't, by the way.
That much on the show, but here we go. And he followed that up seconds ago inside of the Oval Office saying this.
What can you tell us about that? And is there any indication it's Iran related? Does it represent?
Well, I'm going to give you a report. I've been briefed. It's a little more of the same, but it's going to be straightening out. It's going to be straightening out. In the meantime,
it's gonna. Yeah, this is fucking magic. What a leader! It's gonna be straightening out. If he had any brain cells left, I would almost think this is a Strait of Hormuz reference, but it's not. I think the word straight is just stuck in his head.
We're going to be hitting them very hard because it's our turn to hit them. They know it's coming.
The word would be turn. It's our turn, not term. And I don't know if Benny is laughing at that in particular or if he's just so excited by Trump's machismo.
It's going to be straightening out. It's going to be straightening out. In the meantime, we're going to be hitting them very hard because it's our turn to hit them. They know
it's our term to hit them.
It's coming. They're asking us not to do it, but
they're asking us not to do it. Who? The Iranians? Don't shoot at us. I think he means the Omanis, maybe?
Last night. So we had 5 rockets shot going 8,500 miles an hour, and all 5 rockets were knocked down to the ground. But they nevertheless took a shot, so it's our turn. And we'll see if we get there with an agreement at some point, but we're going to hit them very hard.
It's our turn, says Donald Trump.
Well, he said term first. Took him a while to get around to the phrase, it's our turn. You could tell that he was trying to wrestle that word loose.
Remember when you were on the playground in grade school and you'd take turns punching your buddy in the gut to see who could handle it?
No. I'm where I was, we would both of us would take a pencil, and you would take a pencil and start rubbing it on your hand, and like a burn, and just see who could take it the longest. That was one of the other ones. Or you do this, and if anybody looked, if they didn't put a finger in it before you close it, then you hit them. There's a bunch of other games. It wasn't as simple as just taking shots in the gut. What'd you call that? The Houdini race?
Now it's Trump's turn. So
they're taking turns? You think that's actually a policy? That's actually a strategy?
A gut punch just happened for America in Egypt.
Because an LNG tanker was hit?
A brand new theater in this war. You know Egypt. Very famous civilization and country.
Yes, a very famous civilization and country.
You can see here is Cairo, right here, where some of the most famous artifacts in the world are. Here.
Yeah, I gotta be honest. I feel like this is new geography for you. Is it just me, or?
Keep an eye out for the end times.
Mm-hmm.
Giza, out there in the Egyptian wilderness, famous Alexandria.
Wilderness?
Yeah. And then...
Oh, yeah. Yeah, the pyramids, they're out there in the Egyptian forest.
Over here is Damietta, LNG. Damietta, what is that exactly? Well, it's a
I've got liquefied natural gas, I'm going to assume.
massive liquefied natural gas port. It is where millions and millions of
perhaps even millions
liters of liquefied natural gas get shipped out every single day and processed. It is
or processed and then shipped out.
Very sophisticated.
Hence the liquefying part.
It has American infrastructure at it, and it is a critical storage port for a number of different nations that are going to be shipping natural gas out into the greater Mediterranean. You can see right there where it is on the map. But it is under attack right now, opening up a massive new theater in the war. Drone hits gas storage tanker in Egypt's Mediterranean port. Goodness, what happened? A fire.
You're just reading this now?
Caused no injuries or fatalities, Egypt's petroleum ministry says, but the strike hits a major storage facility that stores 138,000 cubic meters of gas, the company details show. A drone hit U.S.-owned gas storage tanker in Egypt's Mediterranean port of Damietta. British maritime security firm Ambry.
Yeah, the Trump's Iran war was a dumb idea, and they weren't ready for the sprawl of it. And we're supposed to feel better because he's pissed now? Is that it?
On Wednesday, an initial assessment that could signal further spread of the conflict across the Middle East. A statement from Egypt's petroleum ministry confirmed a fire at the port and made no mention of the drone attack, but did not provide a cause for the incident. Port services firm said that in a separate message that 2 gas tankers caught on fire in Damietta. The drone hit a floating storage tank, causing a fire that spread to another vessel. 3 trading sources familiar with the incident says 2 separate security sources are likely to cause of the blast assessed by a drone strike. Where would the drone have come from? It was unclear who was responsible for the incident. It occurred shortly after Iran carried out missile attacks against U.S. forces in Jordan last night. Washington and Saudi Arabia struck Iran-backed paramilitary groups in Iraq. Ooh. Trump threatened to retaliate now against Iran, and the Houthi group declared...
Sorry, so he's decided to beat the fucking shit out of them because they hit 2 floating gas tanks, but he shrugs off the death of our 4 soldiers in Jordan? And you're fine with that?
Saudi Arabia, apparently spreading conflict wide since the U.S. and Israel started bombing Iran in February. Ooh, okay, here we go. So this, not good for global oil prices when you have these safe harbors that are being struck. You can see here the smoking vessel, and it shows crews putting out the fire, a U.S.-owned floating platform in Egypt following the drone attack. Initial reports that Iran had struck it. No confirmation yet on that. At least 1 drone has attacked U.S. natural gas storage.
Well, I'm having a real hard time justifying your thumbnail now.
Storage facility in Damietta, Egypt. Multiple vessels evacuated. Facility storing liquefied natural gas in the Egyptian port Damietta, hit by drone attack this afternoon. It will be the first attack targeting any energy infrastructure north end of the Red Sea. Crews are desperately trying to put out the fire, obviously.
Yeah, we can see the words on the screen you're reading. You do realize we know this isn't your opinion, right? You're just clicking through X posts and just, I guess they just pass straight from your eyes out your mouth, and somehow that makes them yours.
Start a fire when you have so much gas.
Sure. It sounds flammable to me. But then there's all that water around, so.
Fumes, petroleum in the area.
In the vicinity. Yeah, they had a natural gas vicinity. Well, Jesus, man, you better hope they don't toss a fucking firecracker at anywhere near Trump. Good Lord.
Involving the floating storage regasification unit, an LNG carrier, has disrupted activity in Egypt's Damietta LNG terminal following the incident. Both vessels.
Look, okay, now I know why. Now I know why the thumbnails. Because maybe Tenet Media didn't stop paying Benny Johnson because they were caught and oh no, Russian money was going to right-wing influencers. Maybe they actually just watched his videos and they're like, what the fuck are we doing? I mean, we may be getting our ass kicked in Russia, but I'll be goddamn if we're going to give this shithead money. I'm bored at my own propaganda at this point. The fuck? What was that Voldemort fucking Zelensky shit? Way to remind everybody that we tried to kill these people a bunch of times, shithead. You're fired. What an asshole. All right. Okay. I have time for one more thing, don't I? I do. And here it is. Consider yourself warned, America. Here she comes. She's going to have her own reality show. And she's just like, it's the third coming of Sarah Palin, right? Remember when Sarah Palin was going to have a reality show? And then everybody was like, the reality is a little much. You might want to dial it back a little bit. It's probably best if people don't know how fucked up your family is. Me preparing for my Netflix documentary on how we are going to burn both parties to the ground and launch a political revolution. Right. She's joining the DSA. Oh, really? You're using the fucking stock music, asshole Netflix documentary music? Oh shit, that's it. Like she didn't say anything. They just play the on a mission music that they always play on all their documentaries. It's part of their new documentary series. To Make a Moron. This is like, is she truly a moron, or did they turn her into one? All right. We're all waiting with bated breath, I'm sure. I'm going to let you guys go. Appreciate you. Tomorrow, Friday AI in the morning, and then an afternoon show, and all this kind of crazy stuff. I'll be in and out, and I'm exhausted. There's so much, like the drive back yesterday, and then getting right at, like, we got to move on Sunday. It's going to be a crazy week next week. I'm just saying. It's going to be a bit nuts. I'm going to try and have as much of my shit rolling as soon as I can. But fingers crossed, like, all the stuff I'm up against. But the best part is the new internet setup I might have has better upload speed than I do here. So it might help with the back and forth between guests and stuff. So, oh, dude, the honeydew list is insane. It's insane right now. Because I'm not gonna make my girl do a bunch of stuff, so I'm gonna do as much as I can. Besides like hanging curtain rods and all that kind of stuff, I'm assembling. Like we had this. Summer got this thing for the cats to poop in, and it looks like a TV cabinet, like for your old VCR kind of thing. It's very nice, very modern. But it's apparently this little thing where the cats go into it, and then there's two cat boxes, and you don't see them, and then you open it up and you can clean them and put it back, but it's like it gives the illusion of a nice piece of furniture. I had to assemble that and race back over after that. It's a quirky shape. You know how mostly like you assemble like a billy shelf from IKEA? It's like, okay, I can pretty much tell the shelves from the sides. Everything's well, proportioned or whatever. This thing has all kinds of shit. We're moving so that we're only moving like a mile away, but partly just because of the the ability to have a studio at this other place and that kind of. It's a long story, but I've got a lot of things planned for it. Summer had a YOLO moment and decided this needed to happen, and I love and support her. So this is what we're doing. So yeah, there we go. I've not picked up my stuff yet, James. Appreciate you. Yes. Enoch Chuck. All right. I got to run because I've got to, my mom's flying back tomorrow. So I'm taking her and my kid out to dinner together so he can have a send off dinner for his grandmother. And, yeah. And I've got to clean up because I stank. It's true. I am ripe currently from the work and the sweating and the stuff. So, much love to you, and I will see you guys later on. Let's see, what am I getting out of here with? Just go. Let's see. Should we send? I'll send this as one. This is actually no. I'm going to send this one out to Anna and all these people who don't understand that Rand Paul redacted a bunch of Fauci's diary.
Yeah. If they ask, I forgot it.
You ain't seen nothing.
Yeah. We ain't
said nothing.
Black bar from my past, can't track this. Screenshots cropped out, can't catch this.
Come on now. Hit the like, share the show. Patreon.com/HousePark. You can do it. You can do it. You can help us out.
Can't fact check the madness. Throwing
Lord.
out page from the Bad Habits Atlas. If the story get messy in the ad-libs, highlight, right
click, boom.
Redact this. I was young, I was dumb, I was scrolling. Type way too much, hit send, heart swollen.
Thank you, Pam.
Receipts like a lawyer with a folder, but
you're right, he did need the Dum Dum song.
The tone of whole group chat. Got tails, I ain't claim. In my name pop up, that's a type.
Fauci made a bioweapon to nuke hair salons. The evil bastard.
Very close face, understanding my friends, I plead don't recall.
Yeah, Anna's in her broken clock era.
If they pull up the clip, that's deep fake style. If they show me the proof, I just smile like redact this. Black ball from my past, can't track this. Screenshots cropped out, can't catch this. If it looks too wild on the axis, highlight, right click.
It's coming, Angela. I promise, it's coming. I got like 2 more songs to finish, maybe 3.
Torn out page from the Bad Habits Atlas. If the story get messy in the ad-libs, highlight,
like right click, boom.
If it hit too close, that's a rumor I heard. If the dateline match, that's a clerical error. If the outfit match, that's a popular shirt. If the tattoo match, that's a stock photo search. I'm allergic to question, coughing the light. I just added the ending, soften the bite. Take the worst 3 parts of the night, then slice like fun was had and we were not. Every X got a chapter I seal. Every text got a gap in the reel. I ain't lying, I'm curating the reveal. Just trimming little bits of the raw, real deal. If you saw, you didn't. If you know, you didn't. If you talk, I'm clipping. If they ask, we glitching. Swipe that name out, crop that frame out. If it made me look foul, delete then fade out. Redact this. Black ball from my past, can't track this. Screenshots cropped out, can't catch this. If it looks too wild on the axis, highlight, right click, boom. Redact this. Redact this. Blur that face, can't fact check the madness. Throwing out page from the Bad Habits Atlas. If the story get messy in the ad-libs, highlight, right click, boom.